when you sit in a constitutional chair, a high constitutional chair, as a neutral umpire?
There's 6.5 lakh voters and literally 1 lakh of those don't exist. Pura system उड़ा दिया है, चोरी हो रही है.
With the Election Commission and is guilty of vote chori or vote theft.
Views expressed in this blog are hosted on my own website, are strictly personal and do not reflect the views of any organization.
Namaskar. Hello and welcome friends once again to StraightBat, my weekly video blog where, as the title suggests, I comment with a straight bat. We live, my friends, in the age of what is best described as extreme hyperpolarization. Hyperpolarization that you see in the noisy debates in TV studios and, dare I say, in social media and the outside world. Black or white, either you are with us or with them. There is simply no middle ground, or certainly a rapidly shrinking middle ground. The ongoing debate over the Election Commission and its role is a classic example of this hyperpolarization. If you are against the Modi government, then you will be convinced that the BJP is in some collusion with the Election Commission and is guilty of vote chori or vote theft. If you are a Modi supporter, then you will insist that this is yet another slanderous campaign by Rahul Gandhi and the opposition parties to destroy public faith in democratic institutions. But what if there is a middle ground in this instance? What if the truth is not black or white but lies in shades of grey? So for those who really want to get to the truth and not get carried away by the hype, the noise and the propaganda, today I will bring you 10 home truths based on my observations and findings on the issue. It's a little long this time, but listen carefully to an issue that is at the core of our democracy. Point number 1. Vote chori or vote theft, if it means rigging an entire election, has not been proven. At least not yet. It is one thing to point out irregularities in the voting system. It is another then to suspend disbelief and allege, for example, that the 2024 general elections were rigged in a deliberate and malified manner. Having written a fairly detailed book on those 2024 elections, spoken to many of the stakeholders on and off record, I have no reason yet to believe that the election outcome, and I stress the word outcome, was rigged or fixed. Yes, you are right, there can be no smoke without fire. Yes, there are several constituencies where there was a mismatch between votes polled and votes counted, which may seem surprising in an EVM era. But in none of them can we conclusively say that this affected the eventual verdict. Let me ask you this. Do you seriously believe that Prime Minister Modi's BJP would have won only 240 seats, lost in Ayodhya, been defeated in several of its bastions, had the election been rigged or fixed nationally? Vote chori or vote theft, therefore, has become a bit of a metaphor, part of a political perception war, to create the perception that dal mein kuch kala hai, ya puri dal ek din kali ho sakti hai, and then hope that that will stick. It's been done by others in the past too. Recall how VP Singh used the Bofors case in 1989's election campaign to tarnish the image of Rajiv Gandhi almost irreversibly. Or indeed how UPA too was down by Anna Hazare's India Against Corruption agitation even before any charges were proven in a court of law. At the moment, the word vote chori is resonating among common citizens. But that is not enough as yet to prove that an Indian election has been stolen. To do that, we need a more rigorous investigation and analysis. As I said, there can be no smoke without fire, but we don't know till date whether Nirvachan Sadan itself is now part of a towering inferno. Which brings me to my second point. There is enough reason to believe that the Election Commission system's checks and balances, particularly when it comes to election rolls, are not as robust as they are made out to be. When the Election Commission now says that it needs a special intensive revision exercise in Bihar to purify the rolls, there is a tacit admission that the rolls have been previously contaminated. Just how much is the question? For example, the Election Commission cannot deny any longer that the electronic electoral photo identity card system or EPIC card system used as voter IDs has been found wanting. The fact is, photo ID cards with the same numbers were issued to multiple voters across states, or in some instances, a voter even had dual EPIC cards. This prima facie suggests a major lacuna in the existing system, one that the EC must openly acknowledge with greater honesty instead of engaging in verbal gymnastics. Till earlier this year, when this was discovered, the EC said it was planning to link the EPIC cards to Aadhaar. Now the same Election Commission no longer sees Aadhaar as a badge for voting rights. Kuch samjhe? Number 3, third and even more troubling, and this is a very important point, the process of additions and deletions in the election rolls is being done with an apparent lack of transparency. This has led to genuine fears, my friends, of legitimate voters being disenfranchised and possibly voters from another state being added into rolls of a state where they are not ordinarily residents. In all the controversies that have swirled around the Maharashtra 2024 elections, for example, here is an incontrovertible fact, a complete fact. Between 2019 Assembly and 2024 Lok Sabha in Maharashtra, that is in about 4 years and 9 months, 32 lakh voters were added. Between May 2024 Lok Sabha and November Vidhan Sabha, 40.1 lakh voters were added. Let me say this again. 5 years, 32 lakh voters added. 5 months, 40 lakh voters added. This is a hard fact that needs a proper explanation. This doesn't mean, and let me say this again, this doesn't mean that the Maharashtra elections were rigged or stolen, as Rahul Gandhi has claimed. In fact, I still maintain that the BJP-led alliance had an edge because its ground game was vastly superior, and they learned quickly from their Lok Sabha mistakes and ran a better campaign. But the statistical anomalies of 40 lakh voters being added in 5 months versus 32 lakhs over 5 years cannot just be wished away in terms of new voters on rolls. Let me add here, and this again is important, the charge that voters are being added and deleted indiscriminately from voter lists is not being made only by the opposition parties. Last year, during the Maharashtra Vidhan Sabha campaign, I had Union Minister Nitin Gadkari on record during the campaign claiming that the names of 350,000 voters from his Nagpur Lok Sabha constituencies had been deleted, including some close to his family. Mr. Gadkari still won Nagpur. His margin came down from 2,16,000 in 2019 to 1,37,000 amidst conspiracy theories that there was an attempt to defeat him. But the bigger question is this. Here is a union minister claiming that there was a large-scale deletion running into lakhs of voters. Should this not have led to an immediate inquiry from the Election Commission? Or did the Election Commission expect Mr. Gadkari to formally complain and only then order an inquiry, as today they are asking of a Rahul Gandhi? Point number 4. The Election Commission's attitude has been needlessly opaque and intransigent. For example, when asked questions on additions and deletions of voters or alleged duplicate entries, It is not enough for the Election Commission to dismiss this by claiming that why didn't the party's block level agents or BLAs raise a red flag pre-election? Yes, the BLAs failed in their duty, but a truly transparent Election Commission would surely provide the data in digital machine readable form to all stakeholders, especially the political parties, if it has nothing to hide. What is wrong in providing in this digital age easily searchable PDF formats of electoral rolls? The failure of the EC to do so, while taking recourse to a 2018 Supreme Court judgment in the Kamal Nath case, is a classic example of a bureaucratic approach that relies on letter of the law and not the spirit of democratic functioning. Point number 5. The Election Commission's approach, my friends, to CCTV footage not being made available in the public domain is just as perplexing. To suggest now that providing such footage, if sought, is violative of privacy is absurd. Till May this year, the Election Commission would preserve this data as an important evidentiary and management tool. Then it suddenly decides overnight that this data will be kept only for 45 days after elections, and if no election petition is filed in this period, it will be destroyed. Remember, it was in December last year that the Narendra Modi government suddenly tweaked the election rules to prevent the public inspection of CCTV footage. Why? Their decision comes within days of the Punjab and Haryana High Court last year directing the same Election Commission to share CCTV footage and Form 17C records from the Haryana elections that had just concluded amidst allegations of irregularities. Chronology samajhiye. Once again the question arises, if you have nothing to hide, why would you go this extra length to destroy CCTV footage or deny access to it? Sunlight is the best disinfectant, not the darkness or these absurd privacy arguments that the Election Commission seems to prefer. Point number 6. Let's now come to the Election Commission's explanation for a Bihar Special Intensive Revision or SIR exercise. Sure, there is a reason to purify the rolls with a SIR-like exercise. But I do wonder, why did it suddenly begin now before Bihar and not before a big Maharashtra election last year? It is increasingly apparent that a major exercise like this cannot be done suddenly on the eve of any big state election with unrealistic timelines. That too, you do it in Bihar's monsoon season amidst floods in different parts of the state, in a state with one of the largest floating migrant populations in the country. Add to that the frequently changing demands on documents required, which clearly to my mind shows an ad hocism and a lack of preparedness. Most crucially, an exercise like this cannot be based solely on the principle of exclusion, of excluding voters, where suddenly 65 lakh names were off the rolls without adequate reasons being provided until the Supreme Court insisted that this list of excluded be made public at once. Why doesn't the EC answer basic questions? You have excluded 65 lakh voters. How many have you added? How many enumeration forms have been filled without basic documentation even now? How many forms have been marked not recommended by the block level officers, and what happens to those voters? How many so-called foreigners or infiltrators or ghuspetia have been actually detected by the EC? Remember, the EC or the government certainly claims that ghuspetias are the reason for cleaning up the rolls. So tell us the numbers. If you don't provide answers with transparency and good faith, questions will continue to be raised, at least by people like me. Which brings me to point number 7. The CEC Gyanesh Kumar, Chief Election Commissioner Gyanesh Kumar's much hyped press conference last Sunday. I was delighted to hear that the Election Commission would finally be doing a press conference and even missed my Sunday afternoon siesta to watch the press conference unfold. I have never been more proud and disappointed at one go. Proud because there were enough reporters with their eyes and ears to the ground who asked the relevant questions. Disappointed because I expected the Election Commission to see this as an occasion to inform citizens and not be evasive. So, for example, when veteran journalist Paranjoy Guha Thakurta asked that contentious Maharashtra election question on the 40 lakh net addition in voters and asked why was it Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis who was answering this and not the Election Commission, there was no response. When a journalist asked whether the format of the electoral rolls had been suddenly changed after Rahul Gandhi's press conference, again the response was evasive. Point number 8. It brings me therefore to Chief Election Commissioner Gyanesh Kumar himself. Being a CEC in this hyper-polarized age can't be easy. Damned if you do, damned if you don't is the risk you run. When Gyanesh Kumar stays silent, he is damned. When he speaks out, he is even more damned by the opposition. And worryingly, even his family is drawn in, which is completely unacceptable. And yet, when a chief election commissioner calls on the leader of the opposition to file an affidavit on oath to make good his claims or else apologize to the nation in 7 days, it makes for nice Salim Javed dialogue and good theatrics and headlines. But does it befit a guardian of the constitution who's supposed to be a neutral umpire? Especially when Gyanesh Kumar knows that the affidavit is now time barred by law itself. And if you are going to ask an affidavit from Rahul Gandhi, will you also ask Mr. Gyanesh Kumar for a similar affidavit from BJP leader Anurag Thakur, who also accuses opposition of benefiting from fake voters? Sadly, not, or not yet at least. No, Mr. Kumar. It cannot be a case of different strokes for different folks. When you sit in a constitutional chair, a high constitutional chair, as a neutral umpire. This is where one of your predecessors, T.N. Seshan, scored, sir. Mr. Seshan was just as tough on the Narasimha Rao government then as he was on the opposition. This is the test that Gyanesh Kumar has failed so far. You cannot roar at the opposition and then become a pussycat in the face of the government. Then, sir, you are no longer a neutral umpire, but you will be accused by your critics of being a 12th man for the government. Which brings me as my 9th point to the other key player in this unfolding drama, Rahul Gandhi. Mr. Gandhi, and I have said this before, is often a victim of his own strident rhetoric, resorting at times to hyperbole, when possibly a more evidentiary-based approach would be far more productive. Remember how Rahul Gandhi went around with his Chaukidar Chor Hai slogan in 2019, alleging kickbacks in the Rafale deal. That backfired because Mr. Modi's trust quotient was still very high and there was no conclusive evidence of those kickbacks. Now Rahul Gandhi insists that the elections have been stolen from the opposition. As I said at the outset, Votechori is a very strong word to use. And it will need more than just one press conference that focused on one constituency in Karnataka to then extrapolate and claim that the theft has been proven nationally. Yes, Rahul Gandhi and the opposition has probably won this round in the narrative war. But that alone won't decide election outcomes. Elections are not decided on slogans alone, but an organized ground game. But that's the politics of it. What should be welcomed is that Rahul Gandhi, through his unfiltered charges, through his press conferences, has forced the searchlight on the Election Commission and its acts of omission and commission, deliberate or otherwise. As a politician, Rahul Gandhi has every right, in my view, to raise the issue of alleged election irregularities, backing them with hard data. Nor can the BJP take the moral high ground and claim that Gandhi is destroying the Election Commission's credibility with his remarks. Please let us not forget that it was Prime Minister Narendra Modi who in 2002 as Gujarat Chief Minister ahead of the elections there would derisively refer to another former CC as James Michael Lindo to deliberately focus on his religious identity. It was a dog whistle of the worst kind. Which brings me to my 10th and final point. The credibility of the Election Commission itself. Over the years, my friends, one of the things that has set our democracy apart from the rest of the world and certainly from our unstable neighbors is the high esteem in which the Election Commission is held in this country. But as recent surveys have shown, public trust in the Election Commission is rapidly declining. This is not a good sign, and it surely calls for introspection by the high and mighty who sit in Nirvachan Sadan. We the citizens, you and I, vote in good faith, in the belief that every single vote matters. It is, as I write in my 2014 and 2019 and 24 election books, the one day where Mukesh Ambani and a street vendor in Dharavi will have equal power. It is therefore for the Election Commission to ensure that this basic trust on the principle of equality of citizenship when it comes to voting rights is restored completely. Not by getting into a political slugfest, but by proving through their actions and not just their words that the EC genuinely treats every political party equally. For starters, why don't Gyanesh Kumar ji and his fellow commissioners call all political party leaders individually and then collectively for a cup of chai? Have a free and frank discussion with all of them. Listen to them and then make your case. And yes, then if the evidence is strong enough, be ready to order a time-bound investigation with no ifs and buts into every charge made without seeing that charge as a missile being filed in their direction. It is time, as I have said earlier once, दूध का दूध, पानी का पानी. Think about it. That was the StraightBat. A bit long this time, but sometimes we try and score 100 too on the StraightBat. Thanks for watching. Stay well, stay safe. Jai Hind. Namaskar.